Fantastic. Listen, everyone who's been here, Trisha, Folashade, everyone who's joined, Afia for joining again, Sefia for being here, all true. And Tom Chase Thompson, thank you again for showing up. Thank you for showing up. We've had fantastic speakers, and we have another one coming up very shortly. And you see, I love wisdom. I love wisdom for who they are, what they represent. I had a great conversation with Lee, and such a warm, lovely woman with a great heart to make a difference. And for whatever reason, I think I need to introduce Lee to Elizabeth. I need to have a one-on-one conversation because there's something brewing. But right now I've got Drew. Drew is a great guy, another great guy who has started his own journey and doing amazing work. I met Drew one of the networking events I was running with a business partner, and Drew showed up, and the next thing you know, he joins our inner circle where we do a 90 days accountability program for people in the construction business. And Drew, great guy who is in the sales business, but he joined in and he connected with every single person. And when I was thinking about people I wanted to bring on to share some truth here, he struck me as one of the person I would love to bring on stage because he's got a good heart, got a great heart. And you need to listen to him share his story, and you could also feel what I feel about him. So Drew, it's a privilege. You accepted his invitation at the click of it, and mate, I admire you. I admire your work. The stage is yours.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you very much, Kelvin. Thank you. And thank you for everyone. All the speakers so far, absolutely fantastic. I've got notes and pages full of notes. So hopefully I can add some value to you. So, I asked Kelvin, what should I speak about? And he just said, just speak about you, be you, speak about your journey. So I've had a few weeks to plan this. And I want to start this session with the quote that I live by. It's taken a long time to live by it every day. So here it goes. No matter how you feel, always get up, dress up, and show up. But also my spin to that is perform. From a lot of your stories today, I think you guys all kind of live by that ethos as well. And it's always on the difficult times that, especially these cold mornings that you don't want to go out for a run or you don't want to get into your gym kit because, if you're the first one awake, like I am at 4:30 every morning, the house is always a little bit cold, especially in the UK. It's these lovely chilly mornings, but literally with my eyes open before my alarm goes off now, I just think about get up and also dress up. Dress up is very important. If you look smart, you feel smart. That's one saying that's always stuck with me throughout my sales career. You'll find certain environments with relaxed dress codes and others with more stringent dress codes, and I can see why these MDs and directors ask their employees to wear a shirt or wear a dress. It's not because they're being strict or Hitler's, it's because how it makes your mind feel, how you feel when you look in the mirror. So that's the quote I'd like to start this talk off with. A bit about me. So I've been in the business world for just over 3 years, being my own boss, as to say. Some might say you work for the biggest idiot on the planet, that's yourself. And I can agree to that on a lot of occasions. But I think when I was preparing for this talk, I was going through my journey, and something that's very, very relevant. A lot of people, especially in the UK, we're very shy of doing this. We're very shy of actually owning our success. Everything we've got today is because of ourselves. We might have had a bit of luck in the past. We might have come from a wealthy family, but that doesn't mean, whatever your situation is today, it's you who've put yourself on this call today, or, in situations where has led to opportunity. So, I think this is quite hard for me to acknowledge, is actually going, I am successful. It's taken a long time to be successful, but I think I'm finally comfortable with accepting that. So, as I mentioned, I started my journey, in the business world about just over 3 years ago. But when reflecting back, I've been selling all my life. My parents had a newsagents when I was growing up. And what I would do, I would take stock from my parents' shelves, Mars bars, Snickers, Cadbury's, and I would add a massive inflation and sell it in the car, in the playground. And that's how I earned my pocket money, I suppose. And then that led on to big opportunities. So where I had capital, I had cash for a 15-year-old kid. I didn't spend all my money. I was able to buy higher priced products to sell on to my school friends. I'm not saying all these products may have come from legitimate sources, but I was a bit younger and naive at the time to understand that. But I think the principle here is that I've always had the drive and urge to make a markup, understand, buy for X, sell for X squared. And, living by that ethos, you'll obviously move forward in life and be fun 20X. I see that there, Trevor. Me and Kelvin, we both follow Grant Cardone and live by the 10X rule. So I've not come across the 20X rule. So I think, Trevor, you're on a whole nother level compared to us. I absolutely love that. So a lot of people spoke about their struggles. One of my struggles, I wasn't academically clever. I would always be compared to people. So I think one of my whys, and I think I've achieved that now, is to prove to my parents that I wasn't just dumb at school. It wasn't because I was not as academically clever. I wasn't as worthy as my cousins and other people in my culture. I'm from an Indian background. I am Hindu, and for those of you who may know other Indians and Hindus, and from a cultural point, it's very, very important that my kid must get a degree. My kid must be a doctor. My kid must be a banker. But no one thinks my kid must be a salesperson. As we all know, being in this environment, well, sales, it's the sky's the limit. You can earn as much as you want. There is no cap on and also if you've got the sales skill set, you can move from industry to industry. But once you're a doctor, right? It doesn't mean that you can, by the way, I'm not saying you can't, but those skills are very difficult to transfer over to another industry. But being a business savvy or a salesperson, so I think I was always put down from a young age and always compared. College was an interesting experience. Got kicked out multiple times for just not. I was never aggressive or never doing any illegal activity. It was just the fact I wouldn't turn up and I just caused disruption. And the irony was my college teachers told my parents not to send me to university. And as it happens, 2 years ago, I actually rented a floor of the college as my offices for my staff. So when I did bump into two of my college teachers in the car park, they asked me what I was doing there. And yes, you call it a bit of an ego trip or being smug, as we call it in the UK, but just inside, just got that little bit of warmth to go, you're still here. I'm employing people just to myself. I would never say that out loud, but it's when people kick you down and they try to keep you down because you're different. You're not like the rest of the class. And I think that's very important. And I want to teach that to my children and those around me. Yes, you're different. Doesn't mean you're wrong or, you're not going to be successful. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs around the world share these qualities of being disruptive or being distractive or many millionaires have dyslexia as well, so not letting these things hold you down. I'll also just let you know, I don't really have any kind of flow to this. It's just my journey, my experiences and how I've overcome them. One thing I'm very passionate about is visualization. I've always done it. And when I used to do it before I started doing self-development, I didn't come across self-development until about 3 years ago. What an audio book was, or how the chimp paradox, etc. Since then I've read over 200 books. So if only I came to this world earlier. But even when I was in my young 20s, I'd be on a cross train or the treadmill and I'd be dreaming that I'll be picking this car up one day. Once again, in my culture, it's very important to get married, and married especially to a partner from the same culture. So I would fantasize about that and dream about that. But I think what's been proven to me is that whatever I visualize has come true. Maybe not the exact color car or the exact number plate, or I didn't get married at the exact location, but I hit these milestones throughout. And I think what the powerful thing to take here is, obviously, by daydreaming or visualizing, I was focusing my energy on those points. So I was willing to go on dates with women and be open for marriage, rather than going, look, I'm 25, I'm 26 years old, I play golf on a Saturday, come back to the clubhouse, have a few beers, go home, get ready, and go out. That was a great single life on a Saturday, Sunday. But I was willing to commit to my daydream, to my vision. So I, big powerful believer of that. One thing I do every night is that when I do fall asleep, I visualize my happy place. What's the next place that I want to see myself? That makes sense. And currently, it's just me in a park with my wife there and my little baby running towards me. That's all it is. I've got a little girl; she's 4 months years old. So that's just something that I'm currently, visualizing. So that's a big. I think it's a very powerful tool to have and do. As you guys might, in Cal's introduction, I run a company called Your Lead Machine. We are a telemarketing firm. This is not a plug about the business at all. The reason why I've set this up, so this is the main point I mentioned, that is that I want to change the way people perceive sales and telemarketers. Unfortunately, telemarketers are at the bottom of the hierarchy of sales or an infrastructure. They are generally paid the least. They're seen as a higher fire culture environment. If they last a month, fine. If they hit these KPIs, fine. But in my opinion, it's completely different. I want to pay these individuals well. I want to set them targets that are realistic. And if they don't hit their targets, the first person I look at is myself. Did I provide the correct platform for them? Have I provided correct training for them? Did I pick the right person in the first place? And I think people I'm not saying I'm a powerful person, but in powerful situations and positions think themselves to be invincible. Just because I'm a director of a company, Kel knows me very well. I don't think it means shit, does it? Let's be honest, it's a title. We want to treat people with respect, and these are my values. Obviously, coming from the journey that I've just explained, or I fell into the sales role because I didn't really have any academic credentials. It's always been looked down on in terms of a salesperson, compared to other family members who are pharmacists and doctors, etc. So this is why we've set this company up. And also, unfortunately, telemarketing companies, certain ones do have bad connotations against them. Not saying every telemarketing firm in the UK does. Once again, we want to change this, and hopefully I'll be able to see this change in my lifetime. But it's a big change to ask on how we perceive car salesmen, window double glazing. So there's some very, very good salespeople out there, and I think they deserve the respect that that they're due. But I think what's important is that we're all salespeople, aren't we? In some way or the other. If you're going on a date, for example, or you're meeting a new friend or networking, it doesn't mean you have to sell something to receive money in return. Just your personality. So I think I'm very passionate about. Hopefully it comes across about how people view salespeople. So that's my mission. That's my vision, I suppose. I'm also very passionate about networking. So as I say, I started my business just over 3 years ago. I do have another company. Unfortunately, that didn't go very well for me. I got a lot of pushback from my previous employers. I'm not sure why, because I didn't even make a transaction yet. So I'm smarting about it now. I wasn't smarting about it back then. So they wanted to take me to court, etc. And I was baffled because I hadn't made a single sale in 3 months, which is not something to be proud of, by the way. But in that circumstance, it worked in my favor. So I must admit, I technically failed. It was quite a vulnerable place to be in. I've left this corporate job. I've created this business plan. I've sold the dream to my wife in a way to go, this will work. And unfortunately, it didn't work to begin with. So what I did, I actually got a job at the post office over Christmas time when I was just sorting out the mail, Santa's Christmas letters and all the presents being shipped around the country. And that was mainly for my own sanity, if I'll be honest with you. It wasn't because of the, just to bring some money in. We planned for it, we saved for it. Wife has a good job, but it was just for my own ego, I suppose, that I wasn't just sat around doing nothing. But I didn't want to go back to the role I was in or into that environment again. I was very passionate about carrying on the entrepreneurial journey, I suppose. And then after the Christmas period ended, I obviously that those temporary job wasn't available. So I actually looked after a man with Parkinson's and an elderly gentleman in his house. He was 89 years old at the time. And I did that 3 or 4 days a week. And once again, just to bring some money in, etc. So as I mentioned earlier, like the reason why I do own my success is because I've kind of been at the low points. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in working at the post office nor looking after people in care. But, I literally was washing the gentleman and taking care of his everyday needs to get to where I've got to today. Now, I like to think I run a very successful company, as well as I employ people. And for me, employing people is not like an ego thing that I employ this amount of people. For me, the way I view it is that I'm providing opportunities for people within my community and my society. It means that I'm able to produce income that goes back into my local community, to local businesses, etc. So for my self-satisfaction is that I'm making money move around. If I'm creating employment, I'm creating sales, etc. So that's like my journey. So it wasn't all plain sailing to begin with. I'm not saying it is now either. Even when you're in business for a long time, there's always ups and downs. But I think what I've come to realize is, like many people have said on this call, is it's all about your mindset, understanding your why, and getting up every day, and most importantly, showing up. And that's very, very important. So like today, the way I personally, and I keep saying but I was asked to talk about my journey, and then I think hopefully a lot of learnings can probably come out of this, is that business is very risky in this current time, even in any other time. Obviously, it's a risk that we all take to make a living or generate us income. But the way I work, the way my mind works, is I always think of the worst case scenario. So what is the worst case scenario that will happen if I take this action? If I buy this new vehicle, what is the worst case that's going to happen? Because we all got to pay our mortgages, or we pay our car lease, for example. And you can't live on the illusion that I can't afford to pay this, because no one knows what's going to happen in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, 5 years' time. So by living in that fear, so the way I work things out, especially in business, obviously now as a company, we're getting bigger and bigger. It means I've got to take more and more risks. But the way I've structured my company is that worst case scenario, that foundation of the pyramid is very, very solid. I still have a business. I can always, if need be, start again. And this is not me thinking from a negative point of view. This is not me sat there saying I'm going to fail. This is just me putting parameters in place just in case things do happen. Because we can't predict everything. I completely appreciate being positive and optimistic, but sometimes shit does hit the fan. So I personally put parameters in place to go, if the worst happens, I can still keep the lights on and put bread on my table. So that's how Drew's mind works when making any form of big or small decision. Is speaking of the worst case scenario. I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself around people who you aspire to be, or at least their mindsets, if that makes sense. Surround yourself around people who are successful. don't be the most intelligent person in the room, because if you are, on occasion, it's fine because you're there to give value. That's only if you are. But if you're regularly, or if you go into the pub or the bar on every Friday or every occasion, and you're the smartest person there, you're definitely in the wrong environment, because that's not a growth environment, that's a fixed environment. And as individuals, I'm sure everyone on this call is in that growth mindset and a growth environment. You know, me and Kelv and another eight other successful business owners, we spend every Sunday evenings together. That's a commitment that we make to each other, and we show up to support each other. And I don't know, Kelv, you might agree, but you know, every Sunday is quite a commitment, isn't it? Especially at half past 5 in the evening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a big
Sacrifice the
commitment.
football match. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, we always turn up. So, you know, always surround yourself around people. And I think networking is very key. So when I first started, I'll be honest, I started networking with very small business owners, because I was a very small business owner at the time. As my business has evolved, my mindset's evolved, I found new people, and there's nothing wrong in that. But what I've not done is I've not forgot the old people, because those old people are the ones who passed those initial referrals. They are the ones who first believed in my services and they traded with me. So just because I might have outgrown them personally, as for my mindset, I think it's very important to understand when you might have outgrown someone as a mind. I don't look at people's businesses or the cars or their bank accounts, but I look at people's mindsets. So I want to spend time with people. I want to spend people who are on the same level, if not above, if that makes sense. But I'm still very grateful for all those people that I've met in the past, and I'm still keeping, you know, in communication with them. So networking is absolutely paramount, even if it's just for a support system, because I'm sure many of us have gone through very similar challenges in the past. You know, we might have not hit our quarterly sales figures, or we've had issues with recruitment. We can always share ideas on our challenges. So yeah, you know, that's another thing I take a great pride in, is network and the people who are around to support me, really. And I think that's about it, really. That's me. That's my outlook on life. That's my mindset. I know I have half an hour, but I don't think I need to waffle on any more than what I have. So I hope that's been of use to you guys.